being smart enough or self-aware enough to evaluate what's working, what's not working every 3 to 6 months.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite bearded man, Bobbbaaaay, Purpose in the Youth podcast, the Ben Rudio at the Content Crib. You know the deal. We got a podcast coming in today that I'm very excited about. Tiff Tyler. She is one of the producers of the Lewis Howes School of Greatness podcast. A podcast that honestly inspired me to start my own, to start Purpose in the Youth. I don't know if I had ever came across that podcast, if I ever would have got into this, but what's super interesting is that Tiff started working for this podcast pretty much the same month that I started listening to it, January 2016. And I didn't even realize that until I was doing the research for this podcast. I came across her account, and when I realized she was the producer of this podcast, I was immediately pulled in. I wanted to learn more about kind of her process and what it's like being behind the scenes. And once again, this is personally a big one for me because this is the podcast that inspired me to start mine. And if I hadn't came across the School of Greatness, I don't know if I ever would have started. So, ladies and gentlemen, today in the Ben Rudio with the bearded man, Tiff Tyler. Let's get it! Bang! What up?
Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Putting in the work.
You know? All day, every day.
Pleasure to meet you.
Great to meet you too.
Listen, just jumping on any opportunity. He's a YouTuber, so he does a lot of YouTube content. His name's Justin Escalone. He's based out here in LA.
Cool.
So it's just like more of an opportunity, but then it's like it was like one of those moments where it's like, do I really want to go do this? Is this worth my time? And then boom, this was like the biggest connection that ever happened. We work a lot. He works with Dylan a lot for music videos and touring. So it's just crazy how you just show up to one thing and then
you meet people. Yeah. Or something because there's so many of us who are behind the scenes building brands.
Absolutely.
And I've met a lot of them, and I'm just like, man, if even once a month I can get them on a call and we could just talk to each other, because it's a very unique experience. I think because when you're a creator and your face is in front of the camera and you're doing your own stories, it's different from when your job is to build someone else's brand and constantly be shooting and all that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Purpose in the Youth podcast with your favorite bearded man, the one, the only Bobbbaaaay. Today in the building, Tiff Tyler.
What's up?
What's going on?
I'm excited to be here.
I am very excited to have you here.
Did you do this like Rob Van Dam?
Yeah,
no?
so, all right, I'm gonna be honest.
Smart enough or self-aware enough to evaluate what's working, what's not working every 3 to 6 months.
So constantly just reassessing.
Constantly innovating. So it sounds weird because I used to hate when people say, we're always innovating, we're always changing, because to me that is you're not saying anything. Like if you say we're always doing something new, you're not telling me what you're doing. I can't take that statement and do anything with it. But if you tell me that every 3 to 6 months we sit down with everything that we've been doing, we look at the numbers, we see this has been bringing in income, this has been losing money, but it's making a good impact. This has been bringing in money. A lot of people seem to like it in our business, but we're not making an impact. Like you're measuring, constantly measuring. In the mirror, keep self-evaluating. And then the last thing, I think the third tip would be, I did a podcast really a couple of weeks ago, different podcast. And the woman said that before she goes to sleep, she does a forgiveness list. It wasn't so much that I wasn't grateful. It was that I didn't forgive myself for whatever went wrong. And I didn't forgive the people around me for what I perceived as something that they did wrong to me.
Tiff Tyler.
Crushed it.
You killed it. You more than crushed it. You killed it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. We'll catch you guys next time. See ya!
Great to meet you.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your weekend, okay? Keep hustling. Woo! Tiff Tyler. I think we just did a whole another podcast, part 2, but unfortunately a lot of that's not going to be put out there to the world. Big podcast. This meant a lot to me just because she is the producer of the School of Greatness podcast, the podcast. Walk with me. We gotta give shouts to Lewis. This man right here is the reason that I started a podcast, and I have a DM from him put here to remind myself to keep going. But the fact that she's been working with him and started working with him the month that I started listening to him in January 2016, it's crazy how the world full circles. But overall, great podcast. Go check it out. This is the behind the scenes, behind the beard. So I really suggest you give it a listen. And if you don't, it's okay. I don't think I have anything else to say. I need to go eat. Bearded Man, bye. We'll catch you next time. See ya.